Again, my name is Ray Garcia. I'm your host today. I'm the vice president of the CalWORKS Association, and I'm also the director at the Los Angeles City College. I've been there for 9 years, and so we're going to get into our program today. And one of the things I want, the theme, because since it's Black History, I have a panel of African American colleagues, and so I just want to, if you could delve into any challenges in education, any challenges in your positions that, or obstacles that you have gone through. Anybody could go.
I'll go. You talking to me? Or talking to us? Talking
no, anybody in our panel. And I want this to be, and let me start by saying, I want this to be a honest conversation as we see the things that has gone on with this past year, with all the things with George Floyd and what has come up of it. I think that honest conversation needs to be held. Might be sensitive at times, but I think when we get to know each other in an honest way, I think we will be better people as a group. So I just want all of us to learn from our experience as we go forward. Okay, go ahead, Mr. Wild.
Okay. Well, I'm like the original OG of CalWORKS, I guess along with LaDenta in 1997 96 when it came on. It wasn't accepted, as well as I would say. It's kind of good today, but at that time, a lot of colleges didn't even want CalWORKS. They didn't understand it. And when they spoke of being welfare people, that was really a big challenge. And so trying to put it together, and the location I was in was quite traumatic. I wasn't part of the campus. I was in most colleges have like bungalows. I wasn't in a bungalow. I was in a trailer, as you often hear, like with trailer trash. I'm talking about bad. And being here in the Antelope Valley, the wind blows, and one day the roof actually rolled off the top like a sardine can. We weren't incorporated. We weren't part of the program itself. And trying to get work study and spend my money, they just didn't want it. It was just really a tough road. And so the first thought was, what did I get myself into, and how are you gonna make this grow? And the persistence of, you just had to be there. And I remember going to meetings when we could meet in person and come back with great ideas, and pretty much they would throw it in my face. Well, we aren't gonna do that here. And I just didn't give up. I just kept, pushing forward, because the people that needed it the most were the people that needed the most were not going to get the service that they wasn't going to receive if I didn't help them out. I didn't even have counselors. I did some counseling, which I'm not a degree counselor, but I had to do the ed plans for students and stuff like that. And so when I see the growth of where we started out and where we are now, I see that there's been some great strides, and I just see that there's a bigger need to continue to grow and impart into the students that we serve that, they're very valuable, they're very important, and that this program is very much needed for their success, as well as for the success of the program, as well as for the college, because we are part of that college atmosphere, if they want it or not. The students were coming to the college before CalWORKS, who were CalWORKS, and it just, added to it.
Okay. Anybody else?
I'll say something in terms of challenges. Again, I'm Helena from Pasadena City College. I've been with CalWORKS 7 years now. First, I'd like to say I apologize. I'm in my backyard trying to get away from my kids, and I apologize. My neighbor is now playing basketball. So if you hear,
no problem,
you hear bouncing in the background. But I think one of the challenges that I've faced, and probably many people have, are just visibility and awareness of our program on the campus. And you know, I feel like we're all oftentimes an afterthought, not considered, you know, or that we're an extension of EOP&S somehow. And it's so many times that I get grouped into EOP&S, and the way that our college structures it, we are not combined. We're not you know, I oversee CalWORKS. We have another director that oversees EOPS, but just trying to bring awareness amongst the campus community and the faculty. We've done a lot of outreach by developing newsletters and that hundreds, and put them in faculty boxes, and just I think bringing awareness and visibility, and for us to not be an afterthought has been one of the challenges, major challenges that I've experienced over my time.
Amen.
Ray, if I could just add to the thoughts of Helena, I would say additionally, dismantling the stigma of being a CalWORKS student or being a CalWORKS recipient. And that is very, very hard, you know, to do when oftentimes, as Helena indicated, that we're left out of conversations and we're left out of important decisions that impact the success of our students. So it's a constant explaining, a constant awareness, and almost justifying, you know, the experiences of our students and why they too matter, and speaking up and being the voice that has been silenced or has been looked over or not taken into consideration. So it's having difficult conversations such as this, and not being afraid to ruffle some feathers sometimes and buck up against what has been considered, well, this is the way that we've done it. Right. And it's asking those questions, deeper questions as to why. And as we're looking at changing the culture of our institutions, changing the culture and the perception of what it means to be a parenting student, what it means to be a CalWORKS recipient, let's put these things into practice. And so it's coming to the table with not just with concerns, but coming with even the success of our students, when we're able to share how many students have transferred, how many students have made the dean's list, how many students. So it's really changing the narrative of, hey, that's just a parenting student, you know, just on welfare. No, but there are other narratives to their story that sometimes it's not deemed as worthy compared to, let's say, an EOPS student. But it's really making sure that our students are not overlooked, that they're not, that their stories don't go unheard.
True.
Ludenta?
Oh, sorry.
Go ahead, Lynn.
I think the biggest challenges for me have been that I've been here so long. I've had, I think I just counted 10 directors. We've been a part of Disabled Student Services. We're now part of EOPS. We've had directors that have started and on their first day realized CalWORKS was part of their program, and they had no clue as to what CalWORKS did or who the student population was. So I think that's probably been my biggest challenge, is to change in upper management. And like Mr. Wiley, we started off in a portable that leaked, then moved into the student service building, into a really small office. And we just all decided the bottom line was that our goal was to serve the students, and that's what we do.
Yeah, and I would just like to share my experience. And I get what everyone is talking about, the stigma of students and stuff like that. But I also want to just portray and give it a little different emphasis on the stigma of, even as African American director. My first year at Los Angeles City College, I wore my suits every day with a tie and was real professional. And then one particular day, that we as a college was having a picnic, so I came dressed down. I had some shorts on, I had my hat tilted to the side. I had my son with me, and I walked into my CalWORKS program. And I've been working now for at least like 10 months. And my staff did not recognize me. My staff did not recognize me. And I went from one office to the next office to the next office. And none of my staff members recognized the guy with the hat, the guy with a t-shirt, the guy with some shorts, and the guy with a kid. And as I passed this one staff member and I went into another office, another person who I just hired, she basically said, how can I help you? You know, it was like I was intruding in her space. And I said, excuse me? You know, I thought everybody was kind of playing or whatever, but she said it again, and this time it came off kind of rude. And as I took off my hat, the other person looked around and said, Mr. Garcia? And everybody said, Mr. Garcia. And then people from the office would, from the other places would come in and they said, oh, we didn't recognize you. But I had a real sit down with them because the way I was treated, the way I was treated is the way they were treating the students that we serve.
There you go.
And so when I talk about just being honest with you, I was hurt. You know, there's been many times, even with a suit, I've been in elevators with people and people are holding their purses, you know, and it doesn't matter. So as a director, there's been many times where I've been in situations where I just had to teach my staff that, hey, just because this person is of a different culture, and I have you know, I deal with them in my program. I deal with Armenians, Russians, African Americans, Asians, the whole gamut, and Latinx. But we have to be very sensitive in how we treat each other, because the stigma, we could be fostering that stigma to our own students and the way we treat each other. So that was a lesson that I had to teach my staff, and it's a constant lesson that I continue to try to drive. So I just want to know if anyone here had a similar situation from the panel.
Yeah, I can speak to that. And we've been
okay. Go ahead.
Just real quick, you know, being real here. Part of the reason they didn't recognize you is because out of the corner of their eye, they just saw some black young guy walking through the office with a kid, and they weren't even really looking at you, you know? And so that's why they didn't recognize you. That's why your own staff didn't recognize you. And so can you imagine how a young black student, or old for that matter, comes in an office and they're not even recognized? People don't even really look straight at them and say, hey, can I help you? And it's good that you had that sit down with your staff, because you weren't the first person they did that to. You can be sure that when I started here at my school, which I won't mention, you know, I was in the business services building. I got stopped every day. Hey, can we help you? You need some help? Young man, are you lost? You know, and I had to literally tell staff, hey, I work here. You know, and I was introduced to the staff at an all staff day, and they still didn't recognize me, you know, and I would get stopped. That happened for a good month. And I'm embarrassed to say, I could count on 2 fingers the staff members who saw me for the first time and actually walked up to me and welcomed me to the campus. So I'm feeling you. Yeah.
Thank you. Anybody else on the panel?
I can think that I've had new upper management tell me that I was only passionate to the program because I had been a part of the system.
Mm.
Hmm.
And I had to hold myself together and kindly tell him, I have never been on aid. I do what I do because I love my students. I relate to them because that's what I want to do, not because I'm there, not because I have to. And my students know that I've never been in their shoes. I've never been on aid. I've been a single parent, but I've never been on aid, but I get it. And they just naturally assume I had been on aid.
Got other thoughts?
Ellie?
Hi, everybody. Good to see you all. It's great to be here. One of my experiences is our program is a big program. We have different, it is CalWORKS, but under CalWORKS, we have different grants. And that's the way I was trained by previous two directors to make the program stronger and more resourceful to the campus. So I was well trained to do that. I have many students, and probably I have one of the largest staff within the LACCD, over 25 people. However, I think for our program was very important to understand that we are there, we are getting paid because of the students coming to that office. And I was very clear when I hired anybody with any different position, as a student worker all the way to the coordinator, counselor, assessor, whatever you name it, I had a discussion with them. Not only they went through interview process with a group of the staff, but they had an hour one-on-one with me. And I was very clear with them, no matter who comes to this office, they have to be treated respectfully, kindly, with a smile and welcoming, because your paycheck depends on that. So I was very clear on that. Also, in our office, we speak over 12 languages. That means we are a very diverse group of people. And I promote that. And I ask them to have monthly, every other month gathering to celebrate different cultures, different food, different celebration, New Year in different countries. So I think what we have to do to provide the same respect to our students, we have to work with our staff to see people as people. That's what I have been practicing. I am very fortunate to work with a group of people. However, diversity was always very important in our office with all the resources that we do.
Thank you, Ellie. I want to get back to our panel on any other experience that you have derived some experiences that wasn't so kind, or some challenges that you may have had. Any particular?
I'd like to share a way. This is Angela from LA Mission College, and it is very difficult, and I totally understand when you are treated on a daily basis as somebody who does not belong there, and that's you are reminded, but you're Agajanian. What are you doing at that campus? What are, it's like you don't belong there. And let me just share this one incident. We had a new VP who came from, had the previous work experience working at California State University of Northridge, which is they have a lot of Armenian speaking students. So IAN, YAN, they kind of, I'm sure as an administrative assistant, you know, if somebody's last name ends with IAN or YAN, must be of Armenian descent. And the new VP in front of my staff calls out for me, is like, oh, who's the CalWORKS director? I want to meet the new CalWORKS director. So my staff comes and gets me, and I go to introduce myself. Hello, so-and-so, Mr. I'm Angela, blah, blah, blah. Agajanian, the CalWORKS director, did you want to see me? And then the face on that person, like literally went like, Agajanian, what kind of last name is that? So just that already sends you a notice like, uh-oh, I have a wrong last name. Now I need to defend my existence here at this campus. And literally I had to, for the time being that person was on our campus, I like literally, if the other managers have a certain having a master's degree was enough, I had to go get my second one to show that, hey, now I'm also a counselor. I can also have oversee faculty. I can have counselors. So like you have to go always do above and beyond the rest of the group for you to even keep your job. So it's very disheartening, but it happens all the time. And unfortunately, how I dealt with it is I went to my vice president, because I was not under that department the person was representing. And I said, listen, we have the new VP. This is the reaction I got. And I felt threatened. I feel that I don't belong here. So we had to deal at the like a sit down mediation type of thing with the VPs. So you need to speak up, and you need to not be scared and deal with it. Don't let this die. Everybody respects deserves respect, no matter what last name or color of the skin they have.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you. And then as you can see, even though this is focused on our Black History coordinators, but you see from a variety of cultures that also are dealing with this, some type of stigma. And so I want to go back to to our agenda, where we have LaDenta, Mr. Wiley, Helena, and Letitia Hagler on the panel. So forgive me if you but we're going to ask questions later. So, but I want to get back to their experiences about maybe not your experiences. Well, if you have an experience like something like Angela just talked about, and Ellie just talked about, it myself, and LaDenta, if you could share that would be fine. But I also want to talk about what is the uniqueness that you bring to your program. What is the uniqueness that you bring to your program?
When I was at Antelope Valley College, what I realized is what you're just saying right now, Ray, is that the disturbing things that would happen to you are the same disturbing things that would happen to the students. And so I felt that I had to just raise the bar of excellence up so that the student could get the best from me and everything else that was there. Because if we don't do it, then they definitely won't get it. And so that fight that would be for them to get the best, if you've been with, when I'm sure you slapped my hand a couple of times when I was with the county, they weren't asking for a handout. They were just asking for the same assistance that anybody else would want, that would go to college or go anywhere. And so that became my fight. I mean, I started out working with the county, and I realized some of the mistakes I made there. And so when I got at the college and started seeing it, it was like, you know what? if you don't tell this person that they're important, then they won't ever be important. And that was kind of my mantra, is like, you know what? They're just as important as the president of the college. And just like what Ellie says, like, you know what? Our jobs dependent upon them. My staff depends on them. They go away, we go away. So you have to make that very important. And you got to fight off all the negatives that come along with it. Even some of the things that you said happened to you, and I'll let somebody else speak, but I've had some of those same things. And you know what? You just can't tolerate them. And you have to speak up and make your voices heard, and also assist the student making their voices heard so that they can get the best, because all they want is the same life that anybody else wants. And that's to be positive and go forward and take care of themselves and their children.
Okay. Anybody else? What uniqueness that you bring to your programs? That's the question. What is the uniqueness that you bring to your program? What, from your experience, what makes it special? I can share for myself is, I think the just having the experience of being Afro-Cuban and at times not being affiliated with even my African American brothers, who thought because I was Cuban, I was not really African American, which I'm first generation. And then from my Latino brothers in Miami, I'm from Cuban. My white Cubans just thought I was separate from them because I was not white Cuban. I was Black Cuban. So I was always in between. And so I just want to share with you that there was always that voice that I did not have, that I found that voice as an educator to fight for other people. And so the uniqueness that I have that come in is, regardless of what culture you're from, I'm fighting hard for you, because I understand something that Angela and Ellie was saying earlier, and even Edwin was saying, is that, sometimes people look at you differently because whether because of your culture or because of your skin color. And so as for our CalWORKS students who have the stigma of just being on welfare, and as the right or the left has used those things as politics, we have to continue to fight. Even on our college campus, the CalWORKS is not as respected as the EOPS. So I always have to, and I said this before in the coffee, I always have to show my students that handle CalWORKS like you have a scholarship. Because when you have when you're taking have financial aid and you have a scholarship, you have a time limit. You get books and supplies, all those things. But even with CalWORKS, you have a little bit extra. You have childcare that's taken care of, and a variety of things. And look at this as a stepping stone. And I always give them my experience. My parents were on the system. But they evolved and they pushed their kids, and all four of us have graduated. All five of us has graduated from college. So that's the thing, that it's a stepping stone. They changed the generation by pushing us all forward. So that's the same thing I'm telling my parents, is you be that model and you go on. Anybody else who would like to share?
Good afternoon. Oops, sorry.
I was gonna say, Ray, I was thinking something similar to you, Ray. Before you said it, was that also my family being an immigrant family, I'm Ethiopian, and sometimes I do find that it's helpful in connecting with students, coming from an immigrant family, and sometimes surprising students in terms of how much they feel I can understand their experience, the cultural elements that they're facing in terms of their decision making and their life decisions. Also, I think one thing that's just different than not all, but many CalWORKS directors is that I'm also a counselor. So I'm more of a faculty coordinator. So I feel sometimes that that's helpful in terms of leading the program, just having the counseling background, the knowledge in terms of the academics, but also the skills and in supporting the students. And oftentimes my staff will say like, or will ask me to be, like a communicator with students to help maybe de-escalate a situation or address the situation, that I feel like the skills that I've had from the past have been very helpful in the CalWORKS program.
You know what? What's funny is the part that you said about de-escalation. I've noticed also with my staff that I had to teach as well is the times that they were calling me to de-escalate were African American students. It wasn't with other students, but it was with African American students. And there was one particular time period that there was a student who was I'm not even going to say the nationality because I don't want to get into that situation, but he was from another nationality. They were able to de-escalate. My staff was able to de-escalate that situation, and the student was rude, was loud, and afterwards I pulled them aside. I said, "What happened? What happened there?" Because I wasn't, I didn't understand what was going on, and they explained to me what happened. But I said, "Okay, but how come you didn't call me? I was right here, and you." I said, "Oh." They said, "Never mind. We talked in language, and we're from the same culture, and we was able to handle it." I said, "Okay, but how come you can't do it with African Americans? Because it's you're serving everyone else." And they kind of said, "Aha!" It was a aha moment for them. And basically they always felt that maybe the what they told me before, it was that African Americans were more emotional, but I just pointed out that particular situation, the gentleman was emotional as well, but they was able to handle it. And so I expect them, and we did some trainings and stuff like that. Not only did I train, but I got some professionals to come in to assist them in that type of. So it's funny how we could put each other in a different boxes, so to speak, but not deal with it. And so I think, and I'm glad everyone is being honest and coming forward. But I think it is a good thing for all of our staff to be sensitive of each other and the things that we go through as a people, and as well as everyone else, because as you see that it not only stops with African Americans, but it goes beyond this. Anybody wants to share? And I would like to open it up for anybody else who would like to. I saw somebody, Juan Rubio, that wanted to speak out, but yeah. I wouldn't mind anybody else now to speak up.
And I'm gonna look. I'm gonna keep my picture. It's Friday, so what I want to share with you. What I want to share with you is that I came to this country when I was 17, and I experienced discrimination for either for the way I looked or my accent. But I learned that to move on, just concentrate on the teachings of our Creator, and I have two goals: love our Jesus Christ and love my others. When I get up, I go to work for the Lord, and I don't pay attention to all those courtesies. I think as a human beings, we have to move on, and there are minor things, but we have to concentrate on the things that we do for others. And if you know that you're making a difference, you know the feeling. when a student comes to you and thanks you, and you know that feeling, there's no substitute for that feeling. And that's the way our students say thank you to us. Every day is a challenge. Every day is a new day. Every time that we go to bed, we don't know if we're gonna get up. And every day we have to thank our Creator and continue helping others, those who really need our services. And it depends, everyone is different, but that's my approach. And it's been working. I've been with the program for 1.5 years, and I have seen things that I don't want to mention. And I think our students deserve respect and deserve to be served like anybody else. And we just need to be positive and, like I said, mention through others. And at the end of the day, or at the end of the journey, you're gonna get compensated. That's it. Thank you.
You're muted, Ray.
Anybody else?
Yeah, this is Michael Hopper from LA Trade Tech Community College. I really do appreciate the conversation. Good, and it's good to see Mr. Wiley. Yeah, and everybody on the panel. I miss you guys. So I do appreciate the conversation and the frankness of it because of the time, and I do want other people to share. It just really does speak to the need for our ongoing, continuing professional development in our programs, where and I appreciate the candid sharing, because in our programs, and I think as a society, we're indoctrinated into being fearful of Black people in a lot of cases, and treating people in regards to the racism and classism that exists in our country. So I'm affected. I think anybody who's been brought up in this country has been touched one way or the other. So, as the one brother said, yes, we have the golden opportunity to be able to impact the lives of those who are the most vulnerable of us. But I think they're the most gifted because of their situation. So, it does speak to us continuing that ongoing. We've been corrupted and getting our own selves cleansed. And that's dealing with our own minds when it comes down to racism and classism, because we're all affected one way or the other, and it does show up in how we on the work, on the job. So, but again, I appreciate the conversation, and I appreciate you all having this time.
You're
Sorry,
on mute, Ray.
Yeah, I'm having I'm working out of two different computers. I got kicked off. So anybody else would like to share from the panel or from the other or from the group? We have like 40 participants right now. So if anybody would like to share your thoughts or ask a question from anyone, please do so. And somebody can look at the chat.
Ray, this is Hector from Modesto.
Hey, Hector, how you doing?
First of all, I'd like to thank you for putting the panel together. And I think when you talk about the African-American experience, with this particular group in CalWORKS and folks that work in special programs, we somewhat preach to the choir, because there's no other more diverse population on campus in student services, those that work with disadvantaged students. And I sometimes hear folks, you know, and I was born in Mexico, came here when I was real young, but I'm not African American. And what people don't understand is that the system was designed to make African American fail. So we talk about other people coming to this country. Yeah, this is great that they progress. You know, I applaud that. But keep in mind how long African American folks have been in the system, and they haven't been given the opportunity to advance. Because I don't know too many African American folks that say, I can't wait to get incarcerated. I can't wait to fail. Nobody has those kind of dreams. The system puts that dreams in them and forces you to do things outside your norm in terms of being good people to survive and to make it. So I applaud the attempt to bring the African American perspective in terms of managing a program, what that's like. And I assure you that African Americans have opened the doors, and unfortunately it's not the African Americans who enter the door, it's the other people who benefit from their efforts, such as EOPS was African American driven. The right to vote was African American driven, and they're not the ones who usually benefit from their sacrifice. So I want to thank the panel for sharing their experience. And again, I think this is good conversation. Thank you.
Thank you, Hector. That was heartfelt, and I appreciate what you just said. Powerful and true. Thank you. And anyone else would like to make comments, ask questions of our panel, or even ask questions on what we do different or special in our programs?
Hi, Mason Blanche.
How you doing, Mason?
Hey. Something that I usually try to do to kind of combat these kind of injustices is try to bridge that gap in understanding. Because as human beings, we have a tendency to generalize groups of people to kind of hurry up and make sense of a situation or a person or the world, so that's convenient to us. So what I try to do is when I communicate with people, I give them little bits of information that make them step back and assess their own assumptions, you know? And so one of the things someone spoke was that they were being judged by their accent. And, you know, I've had people who made those types of judgments. And I said, hold on, wait a minute. Some of the most brilliant professors I've ever had accents. Some of the most intelligent people that I've come across spoke really slow with a Southern accent. You see what I'm saying? I see that when I advocate for people, I advocate for people that look like me, but in a lot of situations, I'm more effective in advocating for people that don't look like me, because there's an assumption that, you know, there's a lot of self-interest and, you know, trying to be a victim and things like that. But I think a big part of the solution is when you engage in others, you engage with others that don't look like the population that you're trying to defend. So I'll give you an example. Victor Valley College, we have a new president. He's been here for about a year. His name is Daniel Walden. And we had an all college day. And one of the first things he addressed within like his first month here was racism, and specifically with African Americans. And he addressed it to the faculty and staff, and I couldn't even believe it. And the crowd was silent. And a lot of people didn't like it. But it was able to disrupt some thinking because he didn't look like us. You see what I'm saying? So that was able to kind of stir and ruffle up some feathers and have people start having background conversations about certain issues. So long story short, I just feel that finding that being that bridge in that gap in understanding and speaking out for others that don't look like you, it really helps push that message to where it hits home and people receive it. And that's it.
Daniel Walden, President Walden, Dr. Walden in your school was my vice president at my school. And we had, and matter of fact, he was in my final interview. He was actually the one who hired me. So I applaud President Walden for continuing to do what he did at LA City College. He was always a fighter for people, and he brought some studies that came from Southwest College that showed how, if given an opportunity, how many African Americans would succeed, and he had data to show that. And so I really appreciate it. Now our faculty members were pretty tough on him just because of that same situation. So, but I continue to applaud and tell him hello for me. Okay. We're about to wrap up. Anybody with some last thoughts?
I want to ask a question. Juan
Yes,
Camacho.
Mr. Juan Camacho, how you doing today?
Pretty good. Southwest College in the house.
Yeah, I hear you.
So I just wanted to ask a question to the panel. Do you think, or should we come up with a somewhat of a ally program, kind of like what LGBTQ has? You know, I think that's some sort of a training for everyone on how to be more mindful, or because I feel like we talk about, try to understand and this and that, but I think really building that relationship and understanding, because I can't say, oh, I know what you're going through, but I'm not roaming the streets being Black and getting stopped by the police. I grew up in Watts in South Central, so I could only say that I understand, but I will never be able to understand because I'm not Black. So how can I support the costs, or how can we come up with a plan to kind of make people understand, or not understand, but make it important for other people to kind of like create unity, if I'm making sense?
Yeah, you are making sense, and because you grew up in Watts, and because you work at Southwest College, and because you also are a person of color, I know that you've gone through some of those similar experiences. But I say to you, because I know your program, and I know who you are. Juan runs a program at Southwest colleges that's geared to men, and most of those men are African American and Latinos, and they talk about these type of things. And so I think at first it all starts at home. Okay, it starts at home where we all have to take care of our own programs and see the needs. I saw a need. I have a program similar to Juan's, and then I make people aware. You also, as a director, coordinator, or staff member of CalWORKS, you have to advocate throughout the whole campus about your program. Yes. You have to advocate, because everybody will look at CalWORKS as a stigma of a program, and don't realize that these are real people. And so a lot of our programs, started out in trailer, and my program, we have to fight to be in this new building that we are in. We were in a raggedy building, and when they built the new building for student services, we wasn't in that building. They had no intention of having us in that building until we had to fight. And I'm glad that I had a vice president that was kind enough to hear. And matter of fact, she forged ahead and found a space for us. And so I want you all to know that it starts at home. We do have to come up with something. I don't know what it is, Juan, but we do have to come up with something where we all could be part of it. And maybe after the ATI, and I was just going to mention the ATI before I close, during the ATI, we're going to have a guy who is like a Dan Walden, who is not African American, but he speaks the truth. His name is Tim Wise, and Tim Wise, if you all know him, speaks about racial injustices throughout this land, and he has many books, like White Like Me. He has a book, but when I went to the African American Museum in DC last year, he's introducing, this is a big video about Obama and about the injustices that he had to go through. And so Tim Wise is powerful, and I want everyone to, if you get a chance to read up on him or even go on YouTube to see some of his speeches. But I think that the time is now. I don't know if we all come together and come up with something like Juan was talking about, but the time is now for this to be done, because I think as we are sheltered in, it gave us more awareness of each other and what the African American and what the people of color has been going through. So I think the time is now, and hopefully we can start something.
Can I say something as well, Ray, before we close? You know, what Juan is saying, I think it does also start with just having conversations with people and ask about their experiences. And then, you know, what you learn from that, from people as individuals, from what you learn from authors like Tim Wise, is to talk to other people about it. I grew up in Orange County. I mean, there was nobody that looked like me, almost nobody, in my schools. And I was mostly white and Asian kids. And some of my friends are still from elementary and junior high school are still my friends today. And it's not until recently that I started talking to them about things after 30 years of being friends that I didn't realize that they didn't recognize about my experience. And for example, that, and I don't know if any of you on the panel ever have a similar experience, but that I think Mason mentioned something about revealing information that disarms people, that I find that I've sort of been conditioned to in conversations with new people who don't look like me. And I get the sense that maybe they're not sure who I am, or, you know, they don't know what to make. They have this assumption, but I tend to reveal what I do for a living, you know, where I went to college, something like that, through conversation. And then I see them change, like, oh, and I hate to put it this way, but the perception changing to, oh, she's one of the good ones, or she's one of, you know, wow, that's a surprise, you know, that kind of thing. And I just started sharing this with my friend, and it was so bizarre to me that I'm talking to them about this now when this has been my whole life, you know, or telling them that when I've gone into the store, and we hear this all the time, that you get followed around or whatever, and how I'm so aware of that when I had kids, and my oldest is 8, so this isn't that long ago, when I was pushing him around in a stroller at Target and putting things, here he is, putting things in my basket, I would make it a point to walk past security so that they would know I wasn't trying to steal it. I'm not hiding from you. These are things that I had been conditioned to do and never talked about it. And I see you guys nodding your heads because you probably have similar experiences. And here I am telling my friends that are Korean and white after 30 years of being friends, oh, this is my experience. And they were like shocked that I had never talked about it before. And I was like shocked that I hadn't talked about it before as well. And I said, I guess it's just being conditioned to do something and understanding your, not place, but perception, I guess, in society, and how you navigate that. And you just respond. It becomes like a natural response to figure out how to maneuver that situation really quickly, because you do it over and over and over again. So going back to Juan, I just said having conversations with people and recognizing their experiences, and then talking with other people about that, what you're learning from people's experiences, I think are important.
And going back to what you just said about being conditioned, if police officers are behind me and they just happen to be behind me for periods of time, I will pull over or make a right turn just because I feel nervous because of my experiences with police officers. And I've never been to jail. I've never had any issues before, but just because of that, the experience I've had when I've been stopped haven't been a real fun one. And so I have a tendency of just pulling over because of a nervousness of my experiences in the past. So any last question, any last thoughts before we end this? I appreciate all of you that are here.
Yes, Ray.
Ms. Wiley?
The AMEN conference is coming up. I think you attended that before.
Yes, A2 Men.
Yeah, and they're gonna have Eric Thomas. I don't know if anybody's heard of Eric Thomas. He's gonna be one on the panel, and as well as Michael Vick. I think it would be a good talking point for the CalWORKS staff. I mean, community college people and their students. I think the biggest thing that I think came out of this is the conversation, because it's very much needed. I can tell you, coming from my long years of experience, I'm with Helena, you just kind of accepted it, but you never really talked about it. So you accepted yourself, but you didn't allow anybody else to accept you. And they're saying, oh, you're that good guy. Well, what about the person over here? Well, everybody's good, but you got to understand where I'm coming from to understand my good and my bad at the same time, just like we understand their good and bad. So I applaud that, and I think more conversation is needed to be brought out, not only at our level, but up and down the whole college system.
Great. I want to thank everyone for attending. Next month's theme, our Coffee with CalWORKS on our fourth Friday. Since next month is Women's Month, we're going to have women on our panel. And we're going to talk about things that they deal with. I'm going to have not only directors and other staff members, but I'm also going to have students to be part of the panel and just to talk about the challenges going through, with education and everything that's going on, and even being sheltered in place. But I want to thank you all for being with me. Coffee with CalWORKS. Thank you all, and I'll see you back next week. Okay, bye.
Bye.
Tim, I should have said thank you to my uncle Tim Wiley, but I apologize.
To your uncle.
To my uncle, my tío.
Hey, Mr. Wiley, good to see you, man. Good to see you.
Hey, Ray, do you think it's possible that next week could be an hour and a half?
The next next one? Yeah.
Just throw it out there because it sounds like that's a large value of information. I'd be really interested to learn.
Okay, sounds good. Okay,
Hey,
we'll make it yes.
It's Hunter. How are you doing?
Pretty good. How's it going?
And it's going good. I just wanted to mention something to you. I was at the CalWORKS, not the CalWORKS, the county department welfare directors meeting, and there was a keynote there by Kenneth Hardy.
Kenneth Hardy. He
is an absolutely amazing social services. He's a doctor on the East Coast. He's out of New York, and I want to send you the keynote. It's all about understanding the subtleties of racial trauma, and it's absolutely unbelievable from the for the white privilege understanding racial trauma for the brown and black people. It's so absolutely unbelievable to be able to really get to some of the things that people have to deal with and have dealt with all of their life, and how those traumas have really affected the way they integrate into society, and how white privilege has really imposed a huge burden on people of color. And all of the CalWORKS, all of the county directors, the welfare directors were all there. They were incredibly impressed. Everybody was incredibly moved. And I've passed this keynote around my white college. Cuesta College, as you know, is a very white college. And I am on a mission. I've read Kendi's book. I've read Whistling Vivaldi. I am on a mission to get Cuesta up and running on this based on what Kenneth Hardy delivered and how he struck me with his keynote. And so I highly, I would like to pass it on to anybody, but especially to you, because you are starting this mission for CalWORKS. I don't know what he costs to have him as a keynote, or what it might cost for us to be able to bring him to an association meeting or a training. But the man is absolutely, he just is right on with how he delivers his information so that white people can understand and not feel like they're being targeted, right? It's just so open and informing. It's unbelievable. So I'll send that to you.
Please do, please do. I'm sending my email again on the chat, but please do that. Tim Wise I would love to hear Kenneth Hardy. Tim Wise is going to bring it just the same, but I definitely want to hear Dr. Hardy. Because I think it would be powerful. It's Garcia R4 at lacitycollege.edu.
Perfect.
Okay. Thank you, honey.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for doing this panel. I really appreciate it. I'm sorry I got here late, but yeah, I applaud everybody that's working on this mission because I think it's so long overdue. I mean,
thank you.
We really need to get going.
Okay. Take care. Have a good one. Thank you. Okay, everybody. Appreciate you.
All right, Ray.
Bye.